And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Thursday, August 21st. Temperatures outside in the upper 70s across the area. And there's a few showers on radar stretching from just east of Bismarck through Steele, stretching northeastward up towards Petersburg, just west of Grand Forks. Some thunder showers up around the Petersburg area, but everything else pretty light. A few light sprinkles around and just east of Cooperstown. We've got a few light sprinkles just west of Fargo. All this moving in an east-northeastward direction. Most of the precip is going to be confined north of the 94 corridor, but again, you get out towards Jamestown to Bismarck, we're running into a few light showers, but not expecting much as we head through the rest of the afternoon. But then a cold front arrives as we head into this evening. And the big question mark is, are we going to be able to develop any thunderstorms along that cold front? And that would stretch generally from about International Falls through Detroit Lakes and just through the Fargo area, stretching southwestward from there. And I'll tell you what, most of our models are not popping any storms, but if they do pop, some of those could turn quickly strong to severe. And the timeline on that would be between about 7 p.m. tonight and about 11 p.m. tonight. So we'll be keeping an eye on radar for that. But other than that, if you have outdoor plans for the afternoon, just a few sprinkles possible, not really expecting much in the Fargo area. But again, as you head a little further northwest of town, could see a little bit more in the way of accumulating precip, but even that would be 1/10 of an inch or less. So, Bridgette, for the most part, mostly dry, but we can't rule out just those few isolated light showers for the rest of the afternoon.
Fair enough. And we have been really lucky in the fact that, like yesterday, you and I and Gary talked about what the rainfall has done with us trying to harvest a crop. Now, I left out the fact that pastures look great. So if you are wanting to make sure you've got plenty of grass, this is your season. Downside to that is trying to make hay. And I've heard from several folks, even just this morning, that when you're trying to cut hay and trying to get baling done, but it's consistently wet and damp and that doesn't dry out, not really working in our favor.
Right.
So we're going to do what we can when we can. And in fact, that's why we have not yet harvested our Here We Grow field, because we were green, our moisture's been high, and with the overcast date that we're having right now, with the high humidity as well, we are not going to dry out enough to get a combine through there on a lower moisture field. So we're just going to have to wait like everybody else.
Right. And the good news is, Bridgette, is as we head into the weekend and next week, we're looking at much drier weather coming our way. In fact, we'll have a stretch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 to 7 days of drier weather starting with this weekend. We'll cool things off both Saturday and Sunday as our upper level winds turn in out of the northwest. So that's going to drag down some cooler weather from Canada with highs only in the 60s this weekend. Not really good pool weather, but good bonfire weather if you're going to be out at the lake, as we'll have overnight lows in the 40s. And then next week, we'll be on a gradual warming trend with dry conditions. Monday, we'll start in the upper 60s, and we'll be in the mid to upper 60s by the end of next week with little to no precip expected. So that should give us a chance to dry out across much of the area, which should help our crop as well.
It would, and we'd be looking forward to that as well. So again, to those who've been a part of this project with Here We Grow, we really appreciate that. We have fantastic sponsors like Red River Attention Authority, as well as Gowan USA. Now, Marcia certainly has been there to help us through questions with fungicide, weed control, and more. And then also, when it's time to sell our crop, well, that's when we have a conversation with the folks at Progressive Ag. We want to get that marketed and get our best price, because we know right now for wheat, that's not maybe easy to do unless you were looking to forward contract cash board prices. Maybe not as favorable as some hope, but there has been some movement as of late. And then also Vision Forward, because once you have a crop harvested, you got to have a way to get to all these other places when you're making your input decisions, and Vision Forward can put you in a vehicle that would do that dependably. Many people have had a hand in this project, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. How long do you think it's going to take? We can get this done in a day, right? Is Jim planning on getting all the harvest done in a day, or is this going to take a little longer than that?
Yeah, we're on, just a quarter, and a quarter land. It's not going to take us long. We'll be done in just a couple of hours, really, if things are ready to go well. And I think that for folks who still want to send in their guesses of what they think our bushels will be when it comes time to harvest, send them to me. You can reach me ag@flagfamily.com. That's my email. If you're driving by the field, you're going to see our signs up, and there is a QR code for you to click that not only allows you to give your yield guess, but also gets you to registered to win a Darter Plastics rain gauge and a $100 gift card. We're going to give that away. That gift card is specifically for fuel because who can't use that right now? And we want those guesses sent in as quickly as you can because harvest is imminent. And you can also be following along on the whole process by watching us not only on our Facebook page, but YouTube as well, Weather and Ag in Focus and Acres TV. Glad to have you here and watching.
No doubt, no doubt. And we've got a returning guest today. We've also got in our last segment today. We will be having, because we forgot yesterday to do our Wednesday weather
ran
trivia.
out of time.
And we ran out of time. Yeah. So we'll be doing that today on our last segment after 1:45. So you'll want to be listening for that to possibly win one of those Darter plastic rain gauges. But we have a returning guest today. Levi Otis is going to be joining us here after the break. Bridgette, is that right?
Actually, he's going to be just about 1:30. So we've got a little bit of time, which is fine. We've got quite a number of things to talk about today. One of them comes down to, I know you'll laugh, and maybe I have to use a different voice for this, but there is a tinder for dairy cows out there.
What?
A farmer in New Zealand has created, he's not calling it tinder, but that's similar to what it would be. It's a platform for dairy animals, and it helps dairy farmers pair their animals based on genetic data, health profiles, and breed sustainability. I guess I should have done that in what were these 900 numbers that everybody called in the 90s?
Okay.
I guess I have to use that voice. So this is a matchmaking system that literally allows the producer to swipe through the digital profiles of the cows to find an ideal breeding partner. And of course, that would include the bulls. And you're going to be able to look at herd quality as well as efficiency. It's been inspired by examples such as Ireland's Herd Plus and UK's Tudder, Tudder, Tudder Services. That helps you to optimize your genetics and really reduce the emissions of having to drive to and look for other things. Now, a lot of times we did this with bull sale catalogs in the past, right? You'd read their EDPs, you'd go through all of the information. But when we talk about lower emissions, well, now you don't have to print it, mail it, that type of thing. You can just do this on an app on your phone. And really, this precision breeding helps lead to better milk production, stronger offspring, and that long-term sustainability in the dairy sector that we're looking for. So again, it's known as the Tinder for cows. You can find it in a number of places. This is specific to New Zealand, but there are also other European apps, and there are some in the U.S., as well as our breed associations, whether you are Angus, Hereford, etc. They can also help you find that particular animal that you're looking for. So, yeah, it's the birds and the bees everywhere.
I've got a joke in there, but Addison said, "Yeah, you better not, Dean." So I'll play the better and not say that
safe.
joke.
Hovering my finger over the dump button.
Yeah, I bet you.
That's right.
A Tinder for cows. All right. I thought I heard of everything, but that about does it.
Nope, that's a pretty good one. But there's got to be a way, right? And you're not necessarily shipping the bull. You are likely looking at the stats and the genetics and then shipping the semen, because that's where we go to AI. And I have to always specify I'm talking about artificial insemination right now, not the artificial intelligence. And so that would be an easy way to get those cows bred and ready to roll for the season for calving.
Which is not far off.
We got pregnant mamas out in the pasture now. We're gonna be calving in the spring, and for those who are fall calving, that will not be very far away. We'll probably see some September and October calvers out there on pasture. So, well, I hope that brought a smile to your face. Go check it out, and we look forward to hearing more as we talk about some other ag headlines today here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be back after the livestock update from the American Ag Network.
Hey, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Want to give you a quick update on radar here. We've got some showers, even a few embedded rumbles of thunder just to the west of Grand Forks, stretching southward or southwestward towards Carrington, Jamestown to the Bismarck area, all that moving east-northeast. Also a few light showers just approaching the Mayville area. These are sprinkles. Valley City, just to the north of Valley City. There's a few light sprinkles as well. So, again, we're not expecting much in the way of rainfall out of this afternoon. But, again, stretching from Bismarck through Cooperstown and towards Grand Forks, those will be the best areas for seeing a few light sprinkles or light showers. The rest of us along and south of 94, really not much, just maybe a sprinkle or two. But other than that, we'll be waiting later this evening as a cold front approaches. Are we able to ignite any thunderstorms along that cold front? If we do, some of those could turn strong to severe, with the best bet being east of the valley into Lakes country. So something we'll keep a close eye on. And behind that cold front, much cooler weather heading our way. As we said, highs only in the 60s for this upcoming weekend. If that doesn't get you ready for college and pro football, if that doesn't get you in the mood, I don't know what will. Although I know a lot of people still want to see some summer weather. And even looking, according to the LRC,
right? Next week
we'll warm back up into the upper 70s to near 80, I think, by next weekend. But it's these days are looking down the road on the LRC. They're getting fewer and fewer 80-degree days. I see a lot of 70s, which isn't bad. That's great for the month of September. And like we were talking yesterday, a pretty dry start to the month. But as we head towards the middle of September, we get back into that stormy period that we had early in August that produced severe weather across the state. So something we'll be watching for the middle of September, and then we dry things out for the back end of September into early October. So we've got that week, about a week or so of wetter than normal weather during the middle of September, and then dry on both sides of that. So that's a little better news than all the rain that we've had during the month of August. So that's good.
That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we watch things change in agriculture, as they so often do, there's a new federal rule that's proposed. It doesn't mean it's in place, but this has been proposed. And it has to be with drones and companies to be able to go out of longer distances, meaning that they'd be out of operator's sight. So right now, you are looking at an already approved 657 waiver that allows companies like Amazon and other utilities to do it under certain circumstances. But the thing that could change here is when you look at ag, and we are using drones for much larger acreages when we're doing some aerial spraying. So what this would allow is it spells out that the drone the distance a drone can go. These out-of-sight flights would be allowed only under 400 feet, and that's precautionary. They don't want to avoid or disrupt any aviation or cause problems around airports. The drones would have to have a collision advanced technology to keep them away from airplanes or even other drones. And the rule will allow drones only up to 1,300 pounds, and that includes payloads. So it would be a slightly different situation than where folks are at right now. Again, Amazon has an exception to that rule, but now we're looking at how we can do it within agriculture to make it work just a little bit better. And it's a milestone for us because it allows for a little more activity to be done with those drones than what we expressed and were able to do before. There are some concerns, of course. There are those who know that the war in Ukraine really highlighted how drones could be used for attacks when they should not be. There's a potential for collision, even if you think about drones and other planes, but that's why they're making the rules about less than 400 feet, still within a certain circumference of the operator, and you still won't have drone flights that are allowed over large scale open air gatherings or sporting events or even crowded parks. So there's work to be done. Most of the time when those types of rules are proposed, there's generally an open comment period, such as we've had with EPA and a variety of reasons. And so we'll just watch to see how this turns out. Now, for many of you, you're getting ready to think about your Labor Day weekend plans. And we're not doing it today, but next week, pay attention. We are going to have tickets for the Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion down at Rolog. This year, their feature is horsepower. In the past, I've been there when the feature was maybe John Deere, Alice Chalmers. It just depended on what they wanted to talk about that particular year. This time around, it's going to feature a horsepower. So I think that leaves it wide open as to what they're going to be displaying. There are daily parades. You can certainly camp if you'd want. There's a Pioneer Village. And there are so many pieces of equipment on display, and not just agriculturally, but now there's the sandbox where you can go for construction, the Rolog train that takes you around a 2-mile loop around the area, and then just all the work that's being done during the day while you're there. I've attended a couple of times. It's always been a lot of fun to just hang out and look at some of the vintage things. And some of the vintage things are even getting a little bit newer. As we don't have as many folks who can run some of those steam threshers, we're going to see some of the newer tractors, as you might say. And I don't know if you've been there before, Dean, but maybe you want to swipe a pair of tickets for yourself to go.
It is pretty cool. You kind of step back in time and see how things have evolved quite a bit, actually.
You're gonna come home smelling like wood smoke and coal.
Right?
It's okay. That means it's been a lot of fun while you're there. So I do enjoy checking things out at the Steam Threshers reunion.
Now, going back to the drone story, do you know offhand what percentage of our ag community are using drones now?
Not a lot. I mean, I don't think it's a huge percentage as of yet. I
Okay.
saw a lot more farmers buying them here in 2025 for their own use, but then also are working on doing more custom application for those in the area. Um, Pilots, aerial applicators are considering whether or not they're a fit for their business
Right.
and trying to bring them in if the timing is right. But it's still a growing segment, and I don't necessarily think that there's going to be a lot of one is not going to eclipse the other. We're still going to have room for ground application, aerial application, and then the drones as well.
Right.
There's a fit for each one of them.
Okay.
More people are getting involved.
Yeah, in about 20 years, that's probably gonna be the main way of spraying applications on our crops, I would think. You don't think so?
I doubt it.
Really?
No, no way. You look at the size of the fields that we have. No, drones have a good fit, but they're never going to be able to overtake everything else we do. Number one, we have a manpower problem, and when you still have to have people who are on the ground, whether they're swapping batteries or refilling tanks. So you're not getting less people involved in the process. When you have large areas to cover, sometimes the speed is faster by ground than by air. I don't think they're going to overtake the market. I think they'll find their niche in the market, but I don't think they'll overtake it in that time frame.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Well, you could always build the big, massive drones by in 20 years that could cover.
They already have wheels on them, and they
they
go
do.
down the field back and forth. So, just a thought.
All right.
All right, let's catch up on the news, and when we return, we'll talk with Levi Otis with Ellingson Company. Thanks for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We are excited to have you as well as our guest today, and that is Levi Otis. Levi is with Ellingson Company. Sometimes I slip and just call you Levi Ellingson because aren't you just one and the same, Levi? Isn't that how this works?
They always tell me that Spike's older brother, just a tall one, nicer hair, and not as much money. But I just
Put it on your resume.
I get it all the time. But yeah, that's right. Spike's taller brother. So
okay.
yeah,
So I had a listener
I get
question.
it all the time. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
know. I kind of figured you might. So my listener question was this, and they wanted to know that with the water that comes off of the tiling that you can do with Ellingson Company, and I've held a jar out and taken discharge water out of the pipe. I mean, it is clean. The question was, can you reuse that in situations for irrigation? That would be a lot of water, but is it possible?
Yeah, actually, it's becoming more and more common. Because we have our weather patterns have changed, right? So we have a lot of times in the summer where we don't have rains for 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks or even longer. But then we get all that rain at once, so we get 1 or 2 or 3 or sometimes 6 inches. What we have a lot of customers looking at is engineering big retention ponds and using tile water mixed with rain runoff to then come back and either use a pivot, or there's a company called Rain 360 that actually does precision irrigation. And I was actually just down on a farm by Oaks where they had the Rain 360 irrigator connected to a tile outlet, a main, and the hydrant pressure was so much that this thing would never run out of water out of that drain tile. And so people have to remember with drain tile, all we're doing is removing the water that's coming up from the bottom. So people think, oh, geez, it's raining, it's collecting the rainwater. It's actually not. What happens is the rainwater pushes the water table or fills the water table up, and we want to keep that water out of the root zone. So as long as we're keeping the water out of the root, or the roots out of the water, we can put as much water on it as we want. So
Right.
it is funny because in North Dakota we need drainage permits, but then when you want to build a retention pond to reuse that water or recycle that water, then you have to get a permit for that. So the state owns the water, and they say, hey,
Yes, it does.
how much do you want to hold back here? So it's funny. You need a permit to take it off, you need a permit to put it on, and you need a permit to hold it. So it is. And that's why I have a job.
We could make that a simpler process. Yeah, that's right. We could make this a simpler process.
That's right. We're working
When you
on
looked at that Rain 360, because I've seen them at trade shows, but I haven't crawled around on one to look at it very closely. Are you running a giant hose from a retention pond to it? How are you refilling on that? There's a holding tank on it, correct? So you would just be able to fill it like you would, say, a sprayer.
It's a giant hose going back to the outlet.
Okay.
And then my understanding is you plant with the idea that you're going to use this. Now, when I went out to that field tour, the corn was too tall for me to really grasp what was going on. But the farmers all knew what it was, and so I figured, well, if they know, they're the important ones because they're writing a check. But
Right.
yeah, it was just fascinating. And that thing was bringing water right to the top, the root of the corn. And I could walk down the middle of those aisles and they were not wet. It was taking up that water that fast. It was truly remarkable. So we need to schedule a field day and get one of those out there because to me, things like that change the game, especially up here in North Dakota.
I know what you're talking about with that Rain 360. It's like doing a Y drop where it's right over the corn row and it's dropping that water. And you can also do like liquid fertilizer right at the base of the corn plant where it needs it.
Yep, exactly. And then, the other part of recycling water, again, is I was just on a farm out in Oregon where they're looking at building a retention pond. And I know we've got some up in Grand Forks and Walsh County that want to use spring runoff when the rivers are out of their banks to start the filling process of the reservoir, and then those specific farms will use pivots. So
Yeah.
it's North Dakota just really. I know we're years and years and years behind on the drainage part of everything, but it just never ceases to amaze me how willing people are to try different things and make their farms better.
Okay. That brings me to a question for you, because your job with Ellingson really focuses on a lot what happens legislatively, both state and federal. So when you think about what actions need to be taken, because I just heard you say you need 3 different permits as far as your water is concerned, even on your own farm. For people who are listening, what are areas that they need to either talk to their legislators or learn more pieces about, so that we can all be smart voters and help to get those types of processes streamlined?
Well, if you're not an ag-related person, right? If you haven't been to a farm lately and you just think, oh, it's just farming, you have to understand that every time a farmer has a dollar, he's going to spend it. And where do they spend their dollars? Well, we just had back to school week, right? And people were school shopping, and that includes all of those guys. They come to town, they buy new pickups, and they buy machinery. Titan, RDO, Valley Plains, they are all out of Fargo. And I think that people need to realize that we need infrastructure. Our ditches are old. We need new ditches. We call it water conveyance infrastructure. We've got the PICS Loan Act, right, where we've got 28 to 30,000 acres of ground that we're authorized by the government, but it has never been appropriated. So that infrastructure needs to be built. We have an issue with fertilizer and all those expenses, and natural gas is a huge component of that. So if we could bring natural gas from western North Dakota over to the east side, that helps us not only with fertilizer and agriculture, but it helps us with the cost of energy at our houses, right? And so it's building out that infrastructure so that all the value-added ag, you go to NDSU, you understand NDSU, we are a global ag hotbed in Fargo and the rest of North Dakota. People want to do business here. They want to come here and learn from our farmers. And so we have to build out that infrastructure so when value-added ag does want to show up, we're ready to rock. And that just means more tax base, right? And hopefully we can educate some of our leaders. And just because the money's there doesn't mean we need to spend it, but we can invest it wisely back into these projects. And I think that's where you start. North Dakota's backbone is agriculture, and if we keep ag strong, everything else follows.
Tell you what, Levi, when I think about all the things that you do, you're never going to have a lack of job security.
Well, right there in a Google review at ellingsoncompanies.com.
I'll just call Spike. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Levi, on this 360 rain you were talking about earlier, is this something relatively new, or is this gaining traction?
Yeah, I think it's gaining a lot of traction now that a few guys have bought them and learned how to use it, learned how to engineer their farms. It's I'm proud of it. The guy that owns it down by Wahpeton is Jay Myers, and I mean he has worked really hard on getting people to invest in it and really put it to work. So, like I said, we got to do another field day, and we find one with an Ellingson pump that'll make me happy and make the boss happy. But it's gaining a lot of traction.
Good.
Yeah, it's literally a self-propelled irrigation machine versus what we normally would have seen with center pivoting here in the state, where you have a center pump and then a large arm that swings in 360 degrees on the field to water. This moves up and down the rows and delivers what needs to be direct to the plant, whether it's water, nutrients like 28% liquid manure, and more. And it's just one more step in the process of conservation as well, because we have folks that are very adamant that we pay close attention to how our water gets used. And this is a way to do it. And that's one of the things that Levi talks about all the time: conservation, stewardship, which leads to a question about the one big beautiful bill. And Levi, did you see some things in there that you're focusing on now as far as conservation is concerned and what you do not only with Ellingson but here statewide?
Yeah, so I think a big component really comes down to financially. I've spent a lot of time with Senator Kramer and Senator Hoeven, and we've talked about fixing some of those things in the farm bill portion that's not financially related. That'll be coming here in later part of this year. So those conversations are happening. More related to duplication of red tape. We've got a great NRCS office in North Dakota. Over the last decade or so, they've really gone from more towards being back to where they originated, as being a tool for the farmer and helping, versus the regulatory attitude that I kind of feel that it was 15, 20 years ago. So that all of that stuff is moving in the right direction, in my opinion. With the big beautiful bill, financially, you can appreciate now bonus depreciation 100% of your tile project. Now you got to be cognitive, right? The prices are bad. A lot of guys aren't happy with tariffs, but it used to be only a farmer could write it off. Well, how many people do you and I know that were raised on the farm, maybe worked on the farm, but now live in town, they work at a bank or wherever, diversified, they still have family farmland? Well, those people might have a tax problem. Now they can go and tile their farm for their renter and depreciate all of that at once. So now they don't have to directly pay that part of their taxes because they're depreciating the tile project. Well, that makes the farmer have more certainty on his farm because of the tile, right? You're taking out a lot of the risk, and he gets to farm better ground. And hopefully the landlord at this time says, yeah, I'm not going to raise my rent on them. I don't need to because I was able to appreciate the asset. And we'll talk about raising rents later when the farm economy comes back. And I see a lot of land investors doing that this year more than I have in the past. And that's because of the one big beautiful bill. And that's going to be huge because that keeps our people working. They're paying income tax, right? Companies paying tax. And then manufacturing, there was a sweet deal in there for manufacturing. Ellingson, we manufacture lift stations, not only for us, but our competitors, for farmers that do their own tiling. And so that's going to allow us to expand and improve that business as well.
There's going to be a lot of things to be paying attention to. Levi, thank you for your time, your expertise. There is, and that's why I appreciate all the things that you're able to share. So I just get to take a lot of notes and be prepared for the next time. So thanks, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You guys have a wonderful week, okay?
You too, Levi.
You too.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have a recap of the weather, radar, all that stuff, and we will have our Wednesday weather trivia, which we missed yesterday. We'll have that trivia question for you coming up right after the break. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 1:52 in the afternoon. We've got some showers on radar, expanding a little bit. Some showers just about ready to enter the Hunter and Arthur area, stretching up towards Hillsboro and Buxton. Also, another line of showers from about Cooperstown down through about the Jamestown area and stretching westward towards Medina, all that moving east-northeastward. And so, again, areas generally along and north of 94, expecting a few scattered showers here over the next few hours. But don't expect much out of this. Just some very light showers for most areas. So, Wednesday weather trivia. We're making it Thursday weather trivia right now because we missed it yesterday. We ran out of time. So today's weather trivia question, and the winner will get a Darter plastic rain gauge. So it's a nice rain gauge. The only thing we ask is if you win, make sure to give us your rain report so we can pass that along to the National Weather Service. So today's trivia. I'm the world's longest on record, registering 515 miles long. What am I? I'm the world's longest on record, registering 515 miles long. What am I? 701-293-9000. Again, that's 701-293-9000. I can hear Google going already. Addison,
Okay,
do you have Addison have any idea? Bridgette, any guesses?
Can I get the question one more time?
You're not listening, are you?
I'm busy producing.
I'm the world's longest on record, registering 515 miles long. That's a tough one. Bridgette, any clue?
Yeah, but everything I want to say is not for a family show, so look at Bridgette keeping her mouth shut over here.
All right. We got a caller on line one. Caller, what's your name and what's your guess?
Grant, is it a lightning?
It is. It's a lightning bolt. Yes, this was back in 2017. They just verified it recently as the world's longest lightning bolt. It was stretching from roughly, northwest Texas all the way up through central Missouri. A huge, we call it a mesoscale convective system, so a huge thunderstorm complex with one bolt that stretched 515 miles. Incredible. Awesome. So, all right, we're going to put you on hold here. Addison is going to get your information, and then just feel free to swing by our station to pick up your rain gauge.
Thanks.
Awesome. Great guess. Addison, you got that? All right, thanks, buddy. Yeah, what were you? Did you have any clue, Bridgette? I was amazed when I saw that.
Actually, I'm not amazed at the fact that it was that big of a lightning bolt. I'm amazed when you said that happened in 2019 and we just recently verified it. I'm sorry, did that paperwork get lost in somebody's desk?
Well,
did they need a permit?
I mean, it is government.
What's the deal there?
So, you know how government tape works. I kind of found that a little weird. It's like, wait a minute, 2017, and now they're just verifying that this is the longest. So maybe they had to go through a bunch of different records to make sure it was legit.
Yeah, perhaps. I just felt like that's an awfully long time, and I'm not sure why. But you know what? Better yet, I don't have to go figure out the paperwork on it. So never mind.
Yeah,
Not a big
right.
deal then. I'm just going to let that go.
Oh.
Well, if you want to see lightning strikes, beautiful skies, and more, you can do that if you go to the Ranch Boot Camp in Montana. This is held every summer. It's in the Winnett area. And what they do is they turn a typical day of work into a chance to teach. When you attend this camp, and there is a limited number of folks who can get into it, they focus on a couple of areas. One is livestock management, so basic cattle handling, branding methods, and more. Then we talk about land stewardship, grazing strategies, irrigation, land conservation, vehicles. So even basic mechanics and maintenance. And if you have folks that have not really operated vehicles in rural areas, discussions about that. Some of that basic mechanics, I hope they actually explain how does the knotter work in a square baler, because most everybody isn't sure. It just does. And when it doesn't, you call your older neighbor with experience to wave the magic 9/16 over the top of it, and boom, the knotter's back to working. And then also working in rural communities. Situational awareness there, interacting with landowners and ranch operators. the folks who attend this generally go to work on ranches for an extended period of time. They are looking to build their skills, and it's incredibly generous that so many ranchers bring that knowledge forward with pride, with purpose, and just want them to be, get a firsthand look at what's going on a ranch so that they can be connected to that life and probably work in it as well. So if you're looking to get set up to do that, let me know. I'll be happy to send the link for you for next year. Addison, if you want me to sign you up for Ranch Boot Camp, you too can rope and drag calves for branding. Let me know how it goes.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep the possibilities open.
You don't sound convincing.
He does not at all, right?
Nope.
Well, for Bridgette, myself, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, a few scattered showers on radar between now and about 5 o'clock. Then we'll be awaiting a possibility of some more storms later tonight on a cold front. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.